Mr. Asita Vijayasundara, and all our participants, Director Kobaf, Mrs. Godakanda, and also Mr. Meneka, our coordinator of the program. So let me welcome one of you. I think Mr. Vijayasundara, we haven't met, I think, earlier, but welcome, sir. And sometimes we can meet. Today we are going to start this diploma in SME, small and medium enterprises. I don't know much about SMEs, but from the very limited knowledge I have, I think if I'm wrong, our resource person will correct me. Whether you take Sri Lanka or the global environment, SMEs play a very significant role in economic activities. In terms of contribution to the generation, in terms of generation of employment opportunities, and also income generation for the families. And if we take the business enterprise, this business structure, we have microfinance institutions, SMEs, and both we have formal and informal, and the large industries, and also the corporates and the conglomerates like that. But when you take all these players in an economy, the SME is the most important sector because that contributes the maximum, that contributes the larger portion in terms of income generation, production, and employment generation. But from the material I have read in this regard, it involves so many different aspects in running a business, planning, and management. When you say management, cash flow management, and the risk management and operational management, there are so many aspects to that. And the main problem that the literature highlights is the main problem is financing part. This is where the bankers are going to be the important players in the project, because without, if we have a continuous and formal supply of finance to SMEs, along with the other ancillary supports, then economy can contribute to sustainable growth. I think if you take countries like Taiwan, and the major players are the small industries. Therefore, you are going to play a very important role in this national project. This is a national project because we are going to contribute to the economy and addressing a very important area. Okay, I'm not going to talk much about that. Mr. Vijayasundara will tell you all those things, and also we have three resource persons: Mr. Vijayasundara, and also Indika Kadagamage, and also Mrs. Delrin Senegaratna. They will take over, and the program is designed by them. They are the resource persons, and also they have designed based on their experience and knowledge, and also the practical experience, looking at the current as well as the future requirements in the industry, and all aspects are covered. Without taking much time, let me introduce our resource person formally. He is an expert in this sector, both locally and internationally. Okay, I think you will get the details of his profile from Mr. Menega. He has been in the industry for more than 20 years, with an experience as a leading personnel in the industry. And he has worked in many international organizations in the same sector. And also he is expert in project management, leadership, and training of trainers. And also he has developed a very sound personal character so that he can play a big role in the financial sector. The very factor that we have sought his service as a resource person is a testimony of his caliber and also resourcefulness. Sir, if you permit, Mr. Vijayasundara, let me stop there. And if I am going to explain, because the profile is huge, and it has a very detailed profile, and actually almost 2 pages. So I check whether there are repetitions, though there are no repetitions. and each and every aspect in every sentence count to his list of qualifications and also the experience. So rather than reading it, let me invite Mr. Menaka to provide you a copy of this one. And during the course of the program, you will understand how resourceful he is, how competent he is, and also how committed he is in training you so that you can take something home after this program. It is not just a certificate, because now all these programs are highly professional and also practical programs. I am pretty much sure that he will left something for you to take home and also use continuously in your profession. And that means he will be remembered throughout your career whenever you come to SMEs. That is, I think, what they have done, how they have established their image in the industry. With that, Mr. Vijayasundara, let me invite you to start the program, and let me invite all our resource persons also. There is one thing I have to mention about, based on my experience. I usually say this in all programs. We have 3 different types of participants in our programs like these. Those who are very much committed from the very beginning till the end. Those who start with a very high level of enthusiasm and give up. And some just try to get the certificate by having the minimum number of marks. Then just a certificate is not going to help you in your profession. It is what is important is not the certificate, but the experience you gain. And also don't allow Mr. Jayasundara to just lecture and disturb him and ask questions and generate arguments, because arguments and questions give very high level of energy to the research person to deliver, because then he develop enthusiasm. That is the experience I also have as a lecturer. Therefore, you all are responsible people, and also you have invested your financial resources, you are investing your time, and also you have to make some efforts for this. So it is overall an investment project. So if you're not going to get something out of that, that will add to your capacity and the professionalism in the career, it will be just waste of resources. Therefore, don't let that happen. With all that, again, I will invite our resource person, Mr. Vijayasundara, to start. So I will see you sometimes. I'll find time to see you. And I wish that all of you will have a very successful program. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, DG. So it's a really a pleasure to have you on the initial day. I think I'm visible and I'm audible.
Sure.
So I just to complement what the Director General of IBSL just told, I would like to give a brief introduction of myself. Of course, you can get more information from Mr. Menaka. So I'm an economist by profession, by learning, and I'm an attorney at law. So I have basically 2 careers, and I'm a fellow of SEMA, the management accountancy of United Kingdom. So that's my academic background in studies. Other than that, I've been involving in financial sectors, particularly SME development, microfinance, enterprise development, that sector for last 20 years. I started my career with NDB. Soon after my university, I joined NDB as management trainee and been then promoted to a executive, senior executive manager, senior manager to that level. And in my career with NDB, I have been able to grant approximately around I think closer to 1,000 enterprises. So I have a lot of experience in practically lending for small and medium enterprises. And then afterwards, I joined to German Development Corporation, GIZ, as a senior advisor for the financial systems development project, where we had a huge program in Sri Lanka to support the microfinance industry. where we had a lot of activities, setting up of Microfinance Practitioners Association, and then training and all of that, and been working with the Frankfurt University, or rather Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, where we had a lot of activities, and subsequently have been moved to the SME policy matters. So and I work with the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Industries and Commerce very closely to come up with SME policy. And so then, I mean, at least from and then on the other hand, because of my consultancy and international career, I have to had the opportunity to work in a lot of other countries, particularly in South Asia and Southeast Asia, and to a certain extent in Europe. So the contemporary issues with SME management, SME issues, and all other have been quite familiar to me. And then I'm quite familiar to this whole issues, as DG just mentioned, with regard to the access to finance. And with regard to IBSL, I think I have quite a long career now, around 5 to 7 years. I've been instrumental with Mrs. Godakanda to set up this program initially, and then to develop the curricula for you. And with some of my experience at the Frankfurt School, Frankfurt University, and myself, I think Indika and Delrin, of course, Delrin and me, we were trained together in financial aspects. So we are able to get this course up running. So I'm very happy to see that approximately around 30 students, participants participate for this class. So let's have a very, very good module. I know sometimes without having a personal interaction or one-to-one interaction, particularly action-oriented, more practical-oriented courses like this, sometimes it would be quite difficult you to catch up or to follow. But let's try to understand or let's try to mitigate these problems, because we have to live with this system and try to understand and try to get around that. Mono hari tibunot mata man Sinhaleng unat ahanna puluwang අපි සාකච්ඡා කරන්න පුළුවන්. මට සිංහල ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් අවාසනාවට මට දෙමළ භාෂාවෙන් මොනවත් කියන හැකියාවක් නැහැ. නමුත් කාට හරි එහෙම අවස්ථාවක් තියෙනවා නම්, if anybody would like, you can ask questions in English also. මගේ ගැන මම ඉතාම කෙටියෙන් කියනවා නම්, මම අවුරුදු 20ක් විතර මූල්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රයේ වැඩ කළා තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම බැංකුකරුවෙක් විදිහට සුළු සහ මධ්‍ය පරිමාණ ව්‍යවසාය රාශියකට මගේ අතින් ණය දීලා තියෙනවා ජාතික සංවර්ධන බැංකුවත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා. ඊට පස්සේ විශේෂයෙන්ම ශ්‍රී ලංකා සුළු සහ මධ්‍ය පරිමාණ ශාස්ත්‍රයට සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච ප්‍රතිපත්ති රාමුව හදන්න මම ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවත් මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයත් ඒ වගේම කර්මාන්ත සහ වාණිජ අමාත්‍යාංශයත් එක්ක කටයුතු කරා. ඒ නිසා මට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය පැත්තේ යම් කිසි අත්දැකීමක් තිබෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ සියලුම අත්දැකීම් එක්ක අපි ෂෙයා කරලා සියලුම අත්දැකීම් හොමාරු කරගෙන අපි හොඳ වැඩසටහනක් එහෙම හොඳ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් කරන්න තමයි අර DG කිව්වා වගේ අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. හැබැයි මේකෙන් අදහස් කරන්නේ මමම ඔක්කොම ගන්නවා කියලා. මොකද අපි උසස් අධ්‍යාපනයේදී මේක two-way process එකක්. අර මම කලින් කිව්වා වගේ අපිට සමහර වෙලාවට මේ ඩිජිටල් තාක්ෂණය ඔස්සේ කරනකොට ටිකක් අපහසු වෙනවා මේ කටයුත්ත. නමුත් අපි ඒක ඊටම කරුණාවෙන් ඉවසාව දාගෙන අපේ වැඩ කටයුතු ටික අපි කරගෙන යමු. සමහර වෙලාවට මේ තත්වය මම හිතන්නේ මේක මහන්නේ සහ පොඩකන්ද මැතිනිය තින්නවා මෙතන. මේ තත්ත්වයට සමතේකටපත් වුණොත් අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල්තුමා තීරණයක් ගත්තොත් තියෙන සෞඛ්‍ය විධිවිධාන අනුව අපිට in person එහෙම නැත්නම් පුද්ගලිකව කියන්නේ ෆිසිකලි භෞතික විදියට හම්බෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා කවදා හරි කාලයක අපිට එහෙම වුණොත් ඉදිරියේදී අපි අපේ කටයුත්ත අපි සිදු කරමු. එහෙමනම් මට පොඩ්ඩක් අවශ්‍යයි මම එක එක්කෙනාගේ නම කියන්නම්. පුළුවන් නම් කැමරා එක on කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි. නමුත් මම දන්නවා මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවලදී ගොඩක් කට්ටිය කැමරා එක on කරන්න කැමති නැහැ. නමුත් පුළුවන් නම් අපිට මුණ දකින්නත් එක්ක on කරන්න. But I would like to have a small self introduction of everybody to just to understand like what is your what are your background, where are you coming, and what are your expectation. Yes, so there are some comments that some students are not understanding Sinhala. So don't worry, I'm telling everything in English, and if there would be anything, I am telling it in Sinhala, right? So don't worry on that. So so I will try to maintain my bilingual ability as much as possible, right? So don't worry on that. And if you think when I'm talking Sinhala and if I'm continually talking in Sinhala, and if you think that I missed any point, so please make sure that you ask a question, right? Raise a hand and ask a question. But I will try to deliver this in both languages as much as possible, right? So what I wanted to ask now is to give A bit of a self-introduction of everybody. Just of course your name, from which institute that you are representing, and what is your job role, and what basically your expectation of this module, right? So then I will recite a name here because I have a list. If you can, I really appreciate you can switch on your camera if possible. But if you feel uncomfortable, you have the option to do so. But I really like to see your face also, and to get a little bit personally connected. So please feel not be too shy to show yourself, right? So then we will start with Mr. Amila Divas. Amila, can you please explain a little bit of yourself? Sinhaleng hari, English waling hari, come on. Amila?
I'm Amila Vas from HNB. My hometown is Moratua. I'm attached with HNB at National Bank as microfinance officer. I have been working past 25 years as a microfinance loans and related things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amila. You are working for HNB or HNB Finance?
Yeah, actually, at National Bank as a microfinance officer.
All right. Okay. Good. Okay. And by the way, I could not tell that I'm a director of HNB Finance. All right. Okay. Thank you, Amila. Can we go to Mr. Anjana Varna Singha? Amila, you can switch off the camera, right? Anjana? Anjana?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Hello. Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Anjana, gedara dinne?
Yeah. No, I'm actually at service station.
Are you at a service station? Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Kusala Anjana from NDB Bank. Currently, I'm working as a credit officer attached to foreign branch.
Okay, how many years of experience you have?
9 years.
Okay, have you done in SME lending, or what is your main areas?
Yeah, I'm SME lending attached.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Anjana. Thank you. Mr. Asanga Kalupahana. We have two Asangas here. Mr. Asanga Kalupahana.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Asanga.
I'm Chatura Kalupana. I'm presently working at Commercial Bank as a junior executive assistant. I'm presently engaging title searches. Presently engaging title searches of properties which are referred by the branches of the regional. I'm working at regional office, Colombo Metro. There are over 15 branches. I'm doing title searches which are referred.
So are you a lawyer?
No.
Are you a lawyer by?
No. I'm not a lawyer.
Okay. So you work with who's this? Prasanna's team or who? Jayamaha?
No, I don't.
Which department you are working?
I'm working at regional office, Colombo Metro.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Asanga Samira. Asanga Samira. Asanga muted. You are muted.
Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Asanga Samira, now attached to the Kagis Bank at the Retail Credit Division as a senior executive. Earlier, I was at the Commercial Bank at the DFCC Bank. Over 15 years experience in the banking industry.
All right. Very good. So maybe I can learn from you, Asanga.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then we'll go to Mr. Chalit Jayasundara.
Good evening to you all. I'm Chalit Jayasundara and I'm from Matara. I'm currently attached to Union Bank as an executive, and I have more than 12 years experience in the industry.
Okay, you've been in lending and all other?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you. So Chalit, you also would be my co-resource person in the class, right? Because you have 20 years of experience.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Then we go to Mr. Chandima Atukorala.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Chandima Padmalkarivasamathakora from Ceylon Bank. I studied at Royal College Colombo. After following diploma in banking, I have not completed actually diploma in banking, but with the exemptions I received, I got exempted for diploma in postgraduate diploma in banking, but I couldn't follow that due to some personal reasons. And I am following these courses for future advancement and career growth. And I have 30 years experience in Ceylon Bank as a executive officer, junior executive officer.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chandima. And Mr. Dilshan Niroshana.
Good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon.
I'm Dilshan Ansena. I have been in Bank of Ceylon 4.5 years. Now I'm joined to People's Bank as an assistant manager. From 3 years, I have doing recovery. From January onwards, I have to do both credit and recovery. These days, I have to go through the normally the loan inspections. That's the basic thing I have joined this program. I have just 7 years working experience.
Okay. So recovery is very tough these days, isn't it?
Doesn't matter. Somehow we have handling that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dilshan. And then we will have Mr. Harshana Munasinghe.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm Harshana Munasinghe. I am a newcomer from Banking Industries. I am working at HNB Kovala branch, doing leasing.
Okay. Are you driving, Harshana?
No, I'm on the way, on my way, sir. In the vehicle.
Okay. Okay. Be careful, right? Because don't have a distract.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. And then then we have Miss Kalpani Sandalanka.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Kalpani Sandalanka from Ampara. I work in SDB Bank since 2017. I had only 4 years experience in SDB Bank. Still, I am working in the leasing sector, but I am willing to gather information and knowledge related to SME sector. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so you are from Ampara, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So then we have, yeah, thank you. We have Mr. Lakmal Chaturanga. Lakmal?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm Chaturanga. I'm working at National Bank. I was there 2 years experience. Earlier, I was there customer care executive as a dialogue cashier.
Now you are working for HNB, right?
Department. Yeah.
Which branch?
Borlasgamu.
Borlasgamu, right? Okay, right. Thank you, Mr. Lakmal. And then we have Mr. Lankani. Yeah, we have Ms. Lankani Alagiyavan.
Hello. Good afternoon,
Yeah.
sir. I am from Bank of Ceylon, the here branch, and I have 7 years experience, and I have only 1.5 years as credit assistant.
Okay. Thank you. And then we have Miss Madhuvanti Samarasiri. Miss Madhuvanti.
Good evening, sir. I'm Vatsala Samarasiri. Currently, I'm working as a relationship officer attached to Bank of Ceylon, Metropolitan Branch. So I joined the bank as a management trainee in 2014, and I just have 6 years of experience in the bank itself.
Okay, right. Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks. Then we have Mr. Nimal Khatir.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nimal Raj from Vaunia.
Nimal Khatir.
Nimal Raj.
All right. Okay.
I am working at HNB for 4.5 years at credit department. I have done IPS diploma, and I choose this course to my future help and my future studies.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have Miss Satyavani.
Hello, good afternoon.
Satyavani.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Satyavani from Mannar. I am working in Bank of Ceylon as a manager in Adamal branch. I have more than 11 years experience in banking service. Because of the SME potentials in the Mannar area, I want to follow this course.
Okay. Right. Thank you. And then we have Ponnambala Sivaloganathan. Yeah. I cannot see the full name. Sivaloganathan. Yes. Salunga.
I'm from Jaffna. Currently, I'm working for HNP, Eastern Region Credit Operation, Centralized Credit Operation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ponnambala. Mr. Prasanna Ratnayaka.
Good afternoon, sir. I am from Commercial Bank. I work as the SME manager for Colombo Metro Region. I'm with the Commercial Bank since 1998. I joined as a teller. Now I'm looking after region as SME manager. My main role is canvassing SMEs. That's why I joined this program. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So I think we can also learn a lot from Mr. Prasanna, right? Because he has such a vast experience in the banking and the experiences, the SME sector. Okay, we have Raja Kula Surya. Mr.
Yes,
Raja,
sir. Good afternoon.
Raja
Good afternoon.
Right? Oh.
Yeah, Rajaruban, yes. Good afternoon to you, sir. I'm actually working for Commercial Bank for the last 25 years. And presently, I'm the branch manager attached to Chunnakam. I'm actually basically from Jaffna.
Yeah, from Jaffna. All right. Okay.
Yes.
So your surname is a little bit a Sinhalese
Yes,
flavor,
yes.
right? Yeah.
My father's their full name goes there, Rajakula Surya. But generally, if it is single name, Rajakula Surya, but almost count.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Miss Ranmali Lianarachi. Sorry, Rajmali Lianarachi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm Kalsha Rajmali Lianarachi. I'm from Kalutara. Currently, I'm working at People's Bank Udugama as an assistant manager. In retail lending, I have some experience. So I'm quite interested about this SME lending. So I decided to join this program.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So then we have Mr. Sanjeeva Abhenayaka.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm Sajeev Abhinayaka, currently attached to Ceylon Bank Kolipiti branch as a credit officer. Basically, I'm handling those corporate clients there, but my passion is, to cater these SME clients. So I joined this class to gather some knowledge, brush up something with this new normal situation, what's going around in the country and in around the world. So that's basically why I just joined this course.
Okay, right. Thank you. Then we have, thank you, Mr. Sajiva. We have Mr. I think Mr. Or Miss, I don't know, Sasika Raigam Bandara. Sasika or Sasika? Can you hear us? All right, so I think he or she might have a problem. So we have Sivaratnam Jana. Mr. Sivaratnam.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Sivaratnam, what's your full name? Mr. Sivaratnam
Gangadharan. Sivaratnam Gangadharan.
Gangadharan.
Yes. I'm Sivaratnam Gangadharan, working at a commercial bank for the last 16 years. Very recently, I have been assigned as the SME manager for Northern region. So for the task is given to me, so I want to learn a lot regarding these SMEs. So that's why I have joined in this course.
Thank you, Mr. Gangadharan. And we have Mr. Sridarshan. Mr. Sridarshan.
Hello.
Sorry, Miss Sridarshan. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Sevanthi Priyadarshani, working for commercial bank for 6 years. How now the bank is mainly focusing on SMEs. So I want to know something. That means I'm attached to credit department already. Beyond that, I want to know about SME and how to focus on them and how to know their financials and how to develop my career development. So that I have joined the class.
Okay, so which branch you are attached to?
Now I'm attached to North Tandia branch, but I have got newly promoted, so I'm hoping for a good branch.
Okay.
Hoping for a transfer soon.
Oh, okay. So we wish that your transfer will be successful, right?
Thank you.
And we have Thabodini Kajaruban.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Tabo Kajaruban, and basically I'm also from commercial. I have an experience more than 25 years as a branch manager. Presently, I'm a branch manager attached to Neliadi branch, northern part. And under this present context, I also need to enhance my knowledge in SME towards lending. Then only I can safeguard myself with the additional knowledge. So this program will be suitable for me to enhance my knowledge.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Tabo. We have Tharani Ravindran.
Good afternoon, sir. I am working for Hatton National Bank more than 10 years. My hometown is Jaffna. Now I attach Eastern Region as a relationship officer, SME. This is a new role. Bank is created at present to cater the SME businesses. That's why my intention is to learn something from here to play my roles better.
Okay. So how I should call your name, Mr.
Relationship officer. My name is called as Tharani. Tharani. Tharani.
Tharani Ravi.
Tharani. Yes.
Tharani Ravindran. So your name is Tharani or Ravindran?
Yes. My name is Tharani. Father name is Ravindran.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tharani. And we have Miss Tilini Gunawardana.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. I'm from Regional Development Bank. I have joined the bank in 2017. Now I am attached to the credit department in project management unit. I'm working as an environmental and social safeguard officer. I have completed IABF and DABF, but my background is environmental science. So I hope to get more knowledge on SME. That's why I joined this class. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tilini. And we have Mr. Upul Kanakaratna. Mr. Upul.
Good afternoon. I am Upul Kanakaratna from Hatton National Bank, Maharagama branch. Now I have 28 years, over 28 years experience in this bank. Basically, I am handling microfinance and SME loans. So I hope add something about my banking career from this type of diploma programs.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Upul. Yeah. So definitely we will be able to add some, and then we also could be able to learn from you. Okay, we have two more. Mr. Utpala Alahapur. Utpala or Utpala?
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
You're Utpala, right?
Oh, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. I'm Utpala Alakon from K Goal.
We cannot see you though.
I'm sorry, sir.
No, that's fine. You see something else. I think your camera.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. I'm Utpala Alakon from K Goal, working in Regional Development Bank as credit officer. I have 13 years experience in banking sector. Now I need to enhance my knowledge in SME sector, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Utpala. And last but not least, we have Ms. Vatsala Pereira.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Ms. Vatsala. Ms. Utpala, can you switch on your switch off your camera? Camera ke taam on mela thiyen Utpala. Right. Thank you, Ms.
I am
Vatsala.
Vatsala Pereira from Megada. I attached team leader from Telecollection Department, SDB. I have 14 years experience. I am joined to bank in 2006.
Okay. Right. Very good. Is anybody that I did not call the name?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Sasika. So sorry, you are not available before.
Yes. So I'm Sasika. I'm currently work from for Union Bank, Pilianda branch, and I'm working as a credit officer.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? I think you can see me and I'm properly audible. So I would sometimes use the board to, and if you have any question, because I think Mr. Menaka has disabled your video. So since we have now seen most of you, we might not be required now. But if you have any questions, you can ask. ඒ වගේම හදිසියෙන් මේ ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කියන එක කවට හරි තේරුම් නැත්නම් ඕන වෙලාවක පොඩ්ඩක් අත උස්සලා හරි disturb කරලා හරි අහන්න පුළුවන්. Right? But on the other hand, and Tamil colleagues, what I'm trying to tell is that if you feel that I'm talking too much in Sinhala, and I forgot that to switch off on the language to Tamil, always raise a hand and tell. Right? So normally I don't use PowerPoint presentations, right, in my lectures, but I would like, I mean, even in a physical lecture, I would like to use the board and then all of that. So what I would also request you to have a set of notes. I mean, you don't. I mean, you don't have to really, have a book or anything like that. But if you can have a book, that would be fine. And then take your own notes, and then I will give you some reading materials later on. But read that. But definitely don't expect in my lectures, at least. I mean, there are different lecturers are different. That I will give some slides, or then you can study. So it's more like more interaction. So that's what I really like to have a in-person class, but unfortunately, as of now, the situation is not going to happen. So our first session, or first topic, we call it role of SME. Can you see my board?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So role of SME in economic development. Economic development. So this is the main topic. Role of economic. This is actually the first topic. Role of SME in economic development. So what is the role that SME play in economic development? But before we go into SME and the role, let's try to understand a little bit of a basic background, or the background knowledge of economy and economics, right? So, but please don't misunderstand, because this is not a really economics class. But before, what I thought is that most of you are coming from the banking sector, and then and you have a lot of experience. Sometimes when you are in a professional career or professional job, you might sometimes forget this aspect. Right, so that is what I will try to do, at least today's lecture and maybe next week lecture, to develop or to build a little bit on basic economic knowledge. Because why this economic knowledge? Because this knowledge would be important where if you talk SME, or if you talk banking system, or if you are talking microfinance, everything would be covered under the whole topic of economics, right? So then first our first understanding is understanding of economic landscape. Can any one of you tell what is the definition of economics? How you define an economy? What is economic, the definition of economics? The economics kena kya mokad? Amila, what is economics? How you understand? In Sinhala, Arthika Vidyava yanu kumakda? No, don't be silent, right? I will not penalize any of you, but you can tell. Dilshan, මොකද ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව කියන්නේ?
යම් කිසි රටක නිෂ්පාදන හා සේවාවන් සහ මූල්‍ය ගනුදෙනු පිළිබඳව ගනුදෙනු වෙන කියන්නේ ඒ ෆීල්ඩ් එකට තමයි සිස්ටම් එක තමයි ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව කියන්නේ.
Okay, so what you said is the system which encounters all the transactions and all of that, right? Okay, that's one definition. What about Nimal? What is Nimal? What is Nimal Kumar, right? What's your definition of economics? How you define economics? Mr. Rajakulusurya, how you define economics?
One of the factors that really helps for the growth of the country.
Okay, but what is the definition? If you want, if somebody asks you, okay, define economics, economy can define karana, how you define that? Mr. Sanjeev Abhinayak, sorry. How you define economics? At least a very simple definition. You don't have to be right? You just involve in this discussion. I don't need a correct answer, but very important
Excuse me, sir.
It's involvement. Yes.
Excuse me, sir. That is a study of scarce resources and alternative solution uses of human bonds.
Okay, very good, very good. So you didn't Google, right?
Yeah, no.
Did you Google? You didn't Google, right?
No, sir.
All right, okay. Yes, I think you are very close to the definition. So economics is always try to understand the concept of resource allocation. Right? So this is the broader meaning of economics. So now you, especially you being bankers, you also have to understand why I'm taking a little bit more time to explain this. It's very, because you as bankers and of course as citizens, we have to know this. Now in economy, you can see there are two sides. There are two sides. If you like, you can make some small notes on this. One side we call the supply side. Another side, you know, then it could be demand side. Now I'm trying to explain what is economics. Now when it's come to supply sides normally represent the resources. So now according to economics, what are the resources in economy? What are the resources in economy? Lakman, economy ke resources monad. Any economy.
Excuse sir, it's
Mhm.
land,
Mhm.
labor, capital, and entrepreneurship.
Very good. So normally, very good conventional theory sets land, labor,
Labor, capital,
capital, and
and
there's something called
entrepreneurship.
entrepreneurship. Very good. So these are basically we call the resources. This represent the resource side or the supply side of economics. So by the way, who said this? These are the these are the factors of resources. Who said this?
The former economist.
Yeah,
Alfred Marshall, sir.
who was that? Who was that form economist? Huh?
Adam Smith.
Adam Smith.
Lionel
Okay, Adam.
Robinson.
Yeah, no. Initially, this was called by Adam Smith, and what's the important book of him? The Wealth.
Golden, something like that. I cannot get it.
No, the Wealth of Nations, right?
Wealth of, yeah.
Wealth of Nation, right? So the Wealth of Nation by Adam Smith in 1776. He was a person who introduced this concept, right? So Adam Smith, by the way, we consider, I mean, this is a little bit of academics, right? Adam Smith, because you cannot study economics without Adam Smith. Adam Smith was the sort of considered as the father of the modern economics, and he came up with this. This ideology of capitalism, free market economy, and all of that. By the way, very important point: capitalism is much more older than socialism. And actually, who introduced socialism to the world? How the Samajwadi can you locate?
The Russians.
Russia, yes, but who's the person?
Karl Marx.
Lenin.
Karl Marx, right? Lenin and all other came afterward. Karl Marx, but Karl Marx was actually Jewish, right? Karl Marx. What was his the book? Important book like Wealth of Nation.
Is it Das Kapital?
Very good. Das Kapital.
Das Kapital.
Which year it was written? 1883, right? So something like that. So you see, it's almost 100 years after capitalism emerged. We got the socialism. So a lot of people say socialism is a older theory, but not socialism. Actually, capitalism is much more older and much more senior than socialism, right? So Karl Marx. Karl Marx, Adam Smith, it's very good. But other than that, what's other economists who came from the Asian background, who actually wrote a lot of good things in political economics that you should read. Sometimes I know these highly paid bankers, they are not reading. They have been very complacent with the job, right? You are not academically sometimes empowering yourself, but I'm really like that you come to this class also. So who's that other person? He was somewhere around, I think if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 320 before Christ.
Chanakya?
Chanakya, very good. Who was Chanakya, by the way? Chanakya normally we call Kautilya, right?
Kautilya,
so who's
yeah.
Who's
King
Chanakya?
Ashoka's advisor, no? King Ashoka's advisor?
Oh yes, Chanakya was actually not King Ashoka's advisor. He was advisor to his grandfather, right? Chandragupta, Sri Chandragupta Maurya. So Chandragupta Maurya, and then who's the son of Chandragupta Maurya?
No idea, bad in history.
That is not, that's just without general knowledge, right? So Chandragupta Maurya's son was King Bindusara, Emperor Bindusara, and Emperor Bindusara's son was Emperor Ashoka. And actually, who was the son of Ashoka?
Mihindu.
Yeah, Arahat Mahinda, right? So that Arahat Mahinda or Mihindu Hamudro that normally we call. And when Buddhism reached to Sri Lanka? This is nothing to do with SME, nothing to do with economics, but very much to do with when Buddhism reached to Sri Lanka.
With the arrival of Sanghamitta at
yeah, Sanghamitta is his sister, no, Ashoka's daughter. So first from Mahinda.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sanghamitta, where Sanghamitta landed?
It's northern part at Madagal.
Madagal, right? So Madagal, it's in
Dambakol-
Madagal, it's called in, sorry?
Dambakola Patna. Dambakola Patna.
Yeah, Dambakola, it's early, it's called Dambakola Patna or Dambakola Pattanam. It's now it's called Madagal. It's in up in north. So there's this with the bow tree that the Sanghamitra reached to the country, and then of course established before that even established Buddhism. So that had happened somewhere around 230 before Christ, right? So you have to understand these things. So this is Ashoka's period, and then this is Ashoka's little bit of grandfather's period, which is Kautilya was there. And what is a very important book of Kautilya? Actually, that's my point, not history one, but what's the book of Kautilya? Kautilya's Artha Shastra. Right? Artha Shastra means Sanskrit is economics. Right? Artha Shastra means economic. Right? So Kautilya, api Sinhala kiyane Kautilya ge Artha Shastra. So what I want to tell is, if you really want to learn more economics other than of your banking career, please read Adam Smith, Wealth of Nation. Please read Karl Marx, Das Kapital. Please read Kautilya's Artha Shastra. Arthashastra, right? So that's it, right? Okay. Now forget about the history for the time being. So now what I want to tell here is, now according to the Adam Smith in his book, now there are basically 4 resources: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, right? But then now when it's come to the modern economics, even though that's been put forward in 1700, there's a little bit of deeper meaning of this. What is a deeper or the current understanding of land? What do you mean by land? Those days it was basically the land, the agricultural land, or land can be used for construction or something like that. But now what is the meaning of the land?
All the natural gifts that are used to do the production process of goods and services.
Exactly, very good. So land, actually, the metana land ke water, this is not really land. So please put a dash and write, as you correctly said, our colleague, land is all natural resources that could be used for the production function. So it could be water, it could be forestry, it could be oil, it could be any other natural resources. That is basically we call land. So you have to understand the concept of land is not as literally meaning of a land, but it's at a bit of a general meaning. Labor. So those days labor represented the labor, the physical labor, agricultural labor. But what is the current understanding of labor?
The physical and the mental effort given for the production of goods and services.
Very good, very good. Physical and the mental effort. What do you want to mean by mental effort?
The doctors, they give a service.
Yeah. So labor means now, yes, very good. So labor means now your talent, even a part of labor, your knowledge, your patent, your intellectual power, it's all labor, right? So land is so all the human element, it's coming. So this is the physical element and this is the human element, right? Capital. What do you mean? What is the current notion of capital?
The man-produced items which are depreciated and which are used for the production of same goods and services.
Are you looking at internet?
No, I'm teaching economics.
Very good. Good. Very good. So what's your name, by the way?
Sevanti from Commercial Bank.
Okay.
I do classes for some of my colleagues.
Right. Okay. That's good. I really appreciate that. That's what I mean. I think other colleagues got completely knocked off with you, right? So, because your answers are very sharp, very precise. Yes. So, capital is what? I mean, very simple. Okay. Mr. Just wait. I would ask from somebody else, and then you can step in, right? Capital. What's the meaning of capital? Now, those days, capital means money. But what is the current meaning of capital? As Sevandi just said. It is money as well as Sevandi. What is that? You said something.
Investments.
Okay. Investments. So that is again, if possible, money. But what else? You said something related to depreciation. What is depreciating normally?
The fixed assets.
Yeah, let's say machinery, right? Machinery or like man-made. Now let's say, for example, like, okay, land is land, but when it's come to house, which is made by man, actually that is part of capital. So what I wanted to tell again, my dear students, the understanding of this has to be a little bit broader, right? I think everyone knows this, but a little bit broader. And then of course the let's say stocks, the shares, and then sometimes gold, and then any other sort of a thing, credit cards, cryptocurrencies, all other comes under capital. Okay, so now, so these are the things. So this is natural resources, this is all the human element, human part of that, and this is what human made out of natural resources, which is capital, right? You see the interconnection. And by the way, what is say one thing, let others to explain and then you explain later. What is entrepreneurship, by the way? And let me have an answer from Mr. Prasanna Ratnayaka. Prasanna, මොකක්ද entrepreneurship කියන්නේ?
Entrepreneurship කියන්නේ මිනිසුන්ගේ දායකත්වය to the business.
Miss Tabu, what is entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship is an initiative to investment of with all the resources above said to start up a new business.
Miss Ewandi, can you please try what is entrepreneurship? How you define?
Yeah, in addition to enjoying all the three above resources, the innovative process will be there, and the entrepreneurship will bear the profit or the loss from the effort.
Okay, so I mean, very simply means entrepreneurship is the skill of creating economic good out of these resources, right? So entrepreneurship is a skill. So all these could be to a great extent, I mean, not tangible, but you can see. But entrepreneurship is a skill part, right? Where you create sort of a economic good. So entrepreneurship, right? Now, when it's come to economics, now look, all these things, which is supply side, what is the unique characteristics of these? They are
scarce.
They are limited and they are scarce. They are limited and they are scarce. So these are limited and scarce. So you can argue, okay, entrepreneurship, how it can be limited? Why it is limited? Because these are limited. Because if these are limited, if these are bottlenecks, if these are constrained, all other resources are limited, right? So the resources are limited. And then scarce, right? And on the other hand, it is depleting. Resources are normally depleting. Now, demand side, what represents demand side? Your needs and
wants.
What's the difference between a need and a want? Simple question. Singaling අපි කියනවා අවශ්‍යතාවයන් සහ උවමනාවන්. Needs and a want.
අවශ්‍යතාවයන් සපුරා ගන්න ආකාරය තමයි wants කියන්නේ. කියන්නේ සීමා සහිතයි අවශ්‍යතාවයන් wants අසීමිතයි.
Okay, that's one definition. But what is other? Is there any other definition?
Needs are the essentials to live, and wants are the desires to fulfill the needs.
Okay, so yes, I think that's avashyatavan kanekai. So those are the desires. So for to live, we must have needs. So there are basically three human needs. What are the human needs? Minisage monika avashyatavan manawada? Food, shelter, and medicine and clothing. No, clothing, right? Clothing, right? So ahara andum saha nimasa. Evane moulika avashyata. So those are the moulika avashyatavan. So needs, but then wants are the other things, ancillary things that you want. But now what is the characteristics of demand side, needs and wants? They are unlimited. Now look here.
Unlimited.
They are unlimited, and they are not scared. They are always there, right? So now in any given time that you have this this misalignment in the economy, where you have resources which are limited, which are depleting, which are scarce, but on the other hand, you have the needs and wants which are unlimited, which are growing, which cannot be satisfied. So then how you basically reconcile? By the way, why needs and wants are unlimited? How you can explain that? Because this is the human behavior. Are we satisfied with what we have?
No.
We are not satisfied. If we don't have a vehicle, we want to at least like to have a motorbike. If we are having a motorbike, no, it's not there. At least we should have at least a Maruti car. Okay. So then you got a Maruti car, Indian car, and then you have the car. It's not side. We need a Japanese car. And then once you have a Japanese car, okay, it's better that we can have a European car, right? And like that. So needs and wants always increase. It's a human nature. So that's what if you really see, is most of the religions also said that that if you want to be happy, don't peg your happiness to the collection. A lot of us, we would like to collect and seek happiness. No, happiness will not come. Right, so that's why you said that given. So I'm a little bit talking about some religious or the spiritual part, but I mean in every religion, that's giving is considered as one of the main point for happiness, is because of that. Because if you try to collect, you will be collecting eternally, and then you will not satisfied. If you want to get 1 lakh, okay, it's fine. If you have 1 lakh, then 10 lakhs, and then it's not satisfied, and you won't collect more. So it is a human nature, human error, or whatever. The way you call it, in Pali and make a Prutagjana dosaya, Prutagjana Swarupaya, because we want to get more and more, right? So now coming back to our whole discussion, economics is a subject where what we try to understand how these limited resources to be used to fulfill the unlimited needs and wants, right? So please write, if you like, economics is a science or a subject which teach or which try to describe how to use the limited resources to fulfill the unlimited needs and wants. So if you really try to understand this in 2 words, economics is what? Resource allocation. We talk about resource allocation in economics. If you want to further explain that, economics is all about effective resource allocation. Effective resource allocation. So, so for your general understanding, again, economics is divided to how many streams?
2.
Two streams. What are those?
Supply and demand side.
No, economics. We have micro economics and
macro.
I mean, I'm just giving you these details. In microeconomics, what you are normally trying to understand? In microeconomics, what you are going to understand? You say one thing?
Yeah, micro analysis is in small schemes like individual firms like that. But the macro will evaluate in a larger as a whole scheme, which means the national income like that.
Okay, right. Yes. So very much spot on. Microeconomics, you are trying to understand the concept of or the behavior of individuals and the households. Behavior of individuals and the household. Now, let's say, for example, if any tax been imposed in economy, like how the demand would change, how the supply would change. So normally, say you know that elasticity, demand elasticity, and all others. So all these concepts we are trying to understand in microeconomics. How individuals and how the firms. So please write how the individual and firms will react to a particular situation. This is microeconomics. And macroeconomics, as you correctly said, is a study of aggregate level. We are studying at aggregate level. Right. Okay. Anything you want to ask out of these discussions up until now? Right. Okay, then we go into, we will take a short break now, right? Until now it is around 20 minutes. So now it's almost 2:35 or 36. So maybe around closer to 3 o'clock we will meet, right? I will also have a cup of tea and come, right? So the next topic which we are going to discuss now slowly we are going deeper in economics topics, right? So that is that and then we will again go and then come to the SME topic maybe next week a little bit later on. Our next topic to discuss is the concept of economic development. What do you mean by economic development? Concept of economic development, right? So we take a short break. If you like, you can log off, and if you have concern of your data, you can log off and log in. But we will start the session at sharp 3 o'clock and then be there. And then today we will try to finish it around 4:30. Yeah, and then we'll take it, because I also don't want to have a very long lengthy lectures in online. So maybe we'll try to subscribe on other time, because it would be very difficult for me and of course you to be sit and listen for 4 hours. Particularly in a lecture hall, it's also difficult, but in a virtual lecture hall, it would be further difficult. So let's try to manage it somehow or another. If you have any question, please don't forget to ask that once we start the class at 3 o'clock, right? So if you like, you can log off, but then again log on at 3 o'clock, right? Okay, thank you. So our next topic is economic development. Before that, there are these two words I would like to ask you. One is development, and other one is growth. What's the difference between these two words? Sasika, development කියන එකේ growth के වෙනස මොකක්ද? What is the difference? Anyone would like to contribute? If I ask you a question, even though you don't know that, but at least respond, right?
So actually, it is a quantitative, a physical quantitative factor.
What is that? Sorry.
It's a physical quantitative comparison. If it is a growth, if it is actually a physical quantitative comparison, the previous with the present. But in
so
terms
then what
of
is development?
In terms of development is not a tangible one. It cannot be properly measured, and it is not very it's not very tangible. But anyhow, that also signifies almost in line with the growth. It also has some sort of value addition in addition to the present level.
Okay, so what you say basically is that economic development is more intangible, but it has more other aspects. But when it comes to economic growth, it's more tangible. Okay, that's one argument. What are the other argument? Amila, Was? Amila, are you there? If you don't contribute, I have the feeling that you are sleeping, or you are just switching on and doing something else. Amila, මොකද්ද මේ දෙක වෙනස? මේක economic development කියන්නේ ආර්ථික සංවර්ධනය. මේක economic growth ඒ කියන්නේ ආර්ථික වර්ධනය. What is the difference between these two?
growth එකෙන් පස්සේ තමයි වර්ධනය බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. සංවර්ධනය තුලින් තමයි
growth කියන්නේ වර්ධනයනේ පුතා.
සංවර්ධනය තුලින් තමයි වර්ධනය බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Okay, so that is Charit, you want to tell Jayasundara? Chalit. Or anyone. What is economic growth? So the difference is this. Now growth means a linear change of a parameter from one point to another point. Please write that. Growth is a linear, rekiyam venas wima. Linear change of a parameter to one parameter from one point to another point. Now let's say this is GDP from this year, previous year, and to GDP this year, something like that. So this is a linear change of a parameter. So this is growth, and Angela said it before. And growth, this is objective, and this is an objective parameter. What do you mean by objective? What do you mean by objective? What do you mean by objective, Mr. Pradeep? Mr. Prasanna, what is objective? Objective
measurable one.
Objective measurable one. Api Sinhalen kiyana vishaya moulikai kiyala, right? It's objective. You can measure with numbers or measure with this. So growth is a linear change, and which is objective. But when it's come to development, samvardhane kiyana kota, and this is actually another one is growth can be either positive or negative. Like dhanatmaka wennath puluwan, rinatmaka wennath puluwan. Now let's say, for example, unemployment growth. So unemployment it's unemployment growth, but that is a negative in nature. Sometimes we call GDP growth, but growth is a minus. So that means GDP is not grown, but GDP has been contracted, right? So this is that is the understanding. But when it's come to development, I would say much more holistic. So to a certain extent, what Mr. Anjana said, I agree. So it's not that it's not a measurable, it's measurable, but it is more holistic, and always development comes with a positiveness. Now, normally we don't call negative development. If it's a development, normally we have the meaning of positiveness. So that's why we call samvardhanaya, right? Always there. And some parameters, like Anjana said, that other than growth, we are counting for economic development. Now let's say like how happiness index, or how people would like to, or how people would spend their vacations, something like that, right? So that is one of the aspect of economic development. So that is what you have to understand, right? Okay, that's not our main discussion. Economic, so that's the thing you have to understand when it comes to economic growth and economic development. Economic growth development growth what is the main parameter to identify economic development? රටක් සංවර්ධනය වෙනවා කියලා අපි දැනගන්න පුළුවන් මොනවයින් මොනව අධ්‍යයනය කරලාද අපි දැනගන්නේ? How we basically
per capita income.
Okay, per capita income. What per capita?
Per person.
What per capita? Okay, this is one parameter. What's other parameters?
GDP.
GDP. Okay, this is one other parameter.
Standard of living. Standard of living.
How you understand standard living? How you measure standard of living? The standard of living is a concept, right? So how you measure that? Okay, anything else?
Trade deficit.
Education rate of education.
I would say literacy.
Literacy, yes.
Literacy. Literacy rate. Okay. Somebody said what? Trade
deficit.
Okay, so it's a negative, but it's fine. Okay, trade balance. Okay.
Income and asset base. Income and asset base. Income and asset.
How you measure asset base of a country? Income I can understand the per capita income. Okay, so a lot of these parameters are there. Could be inflation, could be one factor, which we will discuss a little bit later on today in the evening, and the GDP, and what's other sister of GDP? GNP is other factor, and of course your education level, literacy, and the trade balance, and all other would be the, and another thing is unemployment or employment. So those are the things. But having said that, we have to understand the main factor if you want to contribute or if you want to calculate the country's development is GDP or GNP. GDP or GNP. So GDP stands for what? Gross
Domestic product.
Gross domestic product. In Sinhala we call Dala Deshiya Nishpat. Dala Deshiya Nishpat. Can anybody define what is GDP? How GDP is defined? Dala Deshiya Nishpat. Anyone? Miss Liana Chiranmali? Rajmali. Rangana, how do you define?
Growth of a country's economy over a period of time, particularly a 1 year.
Growth of a country's, okay, how you measure that growth?
Value of goods and services produced.
Okay. So what we wanted to ask us, what is how you define GDP? Somebody just try to mention that. How you define that? Can anyone define? Mr. Harshana, how you define GDP? Yeah? GDP කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? දල දේශීය නිෂ්පාදිතය කොහොමද අර්ථ දක්වන්නේ?
Total value of the goods and services produced within a country within a particular year of time, financial year.
Okay, so the GDP is it's defined as total amount of goods and services. Now let's say these are goods, these are services. This right, GDP is a sum of or the total of goods and services manufactured within a limited geography. The very important point is limited geography. GDP, domestic or a particular country during a given period of time. So GDP again stands for the total amount of goods and services produced in an economy, a limited geographical area during a given period of time. දෙකලද කාලයකදී රටක් හෝ යම්කිසි නිශ්චිත දේශ සීමාවක නිෂ්පාදනය කරන භාණ්ඩ හා සේවාවල සමස්තයට තමයි අපි GDP කියලා කියන්නේ. Right. What is GNP then? How you define GNP? Can anyone try? Miss Kalpani? කියන්න පුළුවන්ද මොකද්ද GNP කියන්නේ කියලා? Miss Satyavani, what is GNP? Yes. Ms. Madhuvanti?
Gross national production.
Yeah, gross national product. GNP is gross national product. But what I want is much the definition of that. Make just a small version.
Total production of the goods and services in a country.
No, there is GDP. GDP. GNP, who would like to contribute?
Total value of the goods and goods and services produced by the citizen of a citizen, irrespective of their location.
Very good. Very good. That's a thing, right? So GNP stands. This is GNP, right? GNP stands for the total or the sum of goods and services manufactured by a nation or citizens. By a nation during a given period of time. එහෙම නැත්නම් යම් කිසි දෙන ලද කාල සීමාවක යම් කිසි ජාතියක් විසින් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන භාණ්ඩ හා සේවාවල සමස්ත වටිනාකම. Developed by a nation. So that we call GNP. So how to adjust from GDP to GNP? Adjust කරන්නේ අපේ ලංකාවේ GNP එක බලනවා නම්, so there are Sri Lankans who are outside of the country. Give example who are producing goods and services outside of the country. The people who are working in Middle East, right? So this has to be added back, right? And there are some things that we have to minus. What are the things we have to minus? If any non-Sri Lankan produce any goods or services, goods and services within a Lanka, we have to minus it, right? So this is what GDP and GNP mean. I will ask a very important question now. Think and answer. If you really want to, assess any country's economic development, out of these two, GNP and GDP, what do you think the best? What do you think the best? GDP ekai GNP ekai gattahama, what do you think best? What was your answer?
GDP.
GDP. Why is that? Mr. Anjana, why is that?
It's the total production of within the country.
Okay, so that's what your argument, right? It's within the country. Anybody else? So Asanga, Mr. B. Varna Singh, right? What he said was GDP. What's others' idea? Miss Kalpani, what do you think? Nakmal manada kiyane.
I think GDP is important.
Why is that?
But we are talking about our country, no? Then the GDP is the Sri Lankan's total production.
So what about GNP? So then we are excluding the outside, no?
We have some income
because
from
it's catered to other countries' economies, not only for Sri Lankan economy. So GDP is only catered to the Sri Lankan economy.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any others? Comments, Subhasha? What's your view? Okay, I mean, this is actually a very, very interesting macroeconomic discussion, whether GDP is the best or GNP is the best. So, yes, so I think most of you, as Mr. Upul and all others said, it's correct to a certain extent, because if you think on a particular country, if you think on, and particularly the country is a developing country, the best parameter to measure is GDP, because by analyzing GDP you can see, okay, what is the economic activity that is happening in the country, how many jobs being created, and how much of the natural or the other resources being utilized. So all these things you can get from the GDP figure. Of course, the problem is if the country is having outside business operation, it will not really counted. But remember, if the country is a country which is a bigger country, which is a developed economy, and imagine country has a lot of outsourced business operation. Now, for example, like USA. So USA, most of their business operation either been outsourced to India or China or something like that, or Vietnam, something like that, right? So in such situation, country's economic development has to be taken care of the other factors also. So to answer my question properly, if you really try to understand, if a country is a developing country, the best parameter would be the GDP. But if the country is a developed country, the best parameter is GNP in that sense. So using of GDP and GNP, you have to consider in that context. Right. Now we go to a little bit deeper in this discussion. If you try to list the countries from higher GDP to lower GDP, which country do you think that has highest most GDP in the world? Very much.
China. China.
China. What is Chinese GDP? Anyone can tell that? What is Chinese GDP? Yes, China is correct. Somewhere around 22 trillion. Or let's say 20 trillion, right? I'm not very sure, but I mean just rule of thumb. After China, what's the country that has highest GDP?
Japan.
No, USA. USA somewhere around 18 trillion. Oh, this is billion. How many zeros for trillion? Yeah. 10 into the power 12, right? Okay. After USA?
Japan.
No, India.
India.
India is around 6 trillion. Then you will have Japan. $4 trillion. And then you have Germany. Germany around 1.4 trillion. This is US dollars, huh? No, sorry. Billion. US dollars billion, not trillion. Right. Okay. So in that context, this is US dollars. In that context, if GDP, what I want, I mean, these are very, very, basics, basic data I just mentioned. In this, if you see these things, if GDP is the parameter for economic development, by looking at these numbers, do you think it is it shows it gives you a proper answer? Now, what I'm trying to ask you is that if GDP is the main parameter for economic development, then highest country of GDP should be the developed most country. Is that so here? No, because China is a highest GDP but on the other hand, China is a very developed country. I mean, yes, China has a lot of development, but China has a lot of poor people also. I mean, compared to China, Switzerland is developed. Compared to China, Norway is developed. And the third would be in India. Of course, US is a different story, but India again has, I mean, there are of course 250 million people who are in poverty in India. Sri Lanka, we have only 22 million. Or 250 million. So in that such context, the India is also quite. It's not a developed country, but GDP terms, it is very high. So what I wanted to tell here with these figures that GDP is not the best parameter to reflect countries' economic development. So if GDP is not the best parameter, what do you think would be the even better parameter? Telini, what do you think? Utpala? Mr. Sri Darshan?
No, beyond GDP, we should measure GNP also in this situation.
GDP, okay,
Because
fine.
China, they
Yeah.
because the own country production only they are in GDP.
Yeah,
But
GDP
when
is
we considering GNP,
yeah, GDP is the own country. That is that's true. But okay, I mean in this context we forget about like GDP and GNP difference for the time being, and we think more or less. I mean it's not, but we think more or less GDP and GNP are same. But what I wanted to tell you is that what is the better parameter than GNP? I think some of you just mentioned GDP. What's a better parameter than GDP? It is GDP.
the literacy,
Huh?
and how the
No, it is actually GDP.
per capita income.
Very good. GDP per capita. GDP per capita. So how to calculate GDP per capita? What's the equation? GDP
divide by number of citizens in the country.
Okay. So the total population. Simple, huh? Total population. So GDP per capita ඒක පුද්ගල දළ දේශීය නිෂ්පාදිතය කියන්නේ සමස්ත GDP එක බෙදනවා population එකෙන්. එතකොට you will get the GDP per capita. So if you calculate these GDPs and then if you can do it later, not now, but if you really divide that GDP from the population, then you get something called GDP per capita එක පුද්ගල දළ ජාතික නිෂ්පාදිතය ඒක පුද්ගල. So that means what would be a sort of portion, perceived portion for person, one individual, and then you would be able to get much more better information or better knowledge, better insight to the country's development. But GDP per capita also has a problem. What is that? GDP per
inequality.
Very good. That is I think spot on. GDP per capita is a average figure. Average, samanya. So that means this is the GDP, this is the population. So everybody's perceived contribution is there. But is that mean that everybody is getting that? No, it's not that everybody, because you have something called income inequality. Inequality or income disparity normally we call. So because of income disparity, that GDP per capita, it's also not a very best parameter. In economics, I will ask quite a technical question now. In economics, how do you measure inequality, economic inequality? What is the econometric measure of expressing that? Can anyone?
Goods and services are not being, total number of goods and services are not being distributed among the population equally.
That's true, but how to measure that?
Gini coefficient and poverty line.
Okay, poverty line is something else, but you said a very good point. What is that? What coefficient? Gini coefficient. Please understand. Please make Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient or Gini coefficient. So Gini means actually the person who discovered that his name was Alfred Gini or Gini. So that's why it's called Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient is a coefficient, or it's a numerical way of producing or telling or portraying any country's economic inequality. If Gini coefficient is high, it's better, or if Gini coefficient is lower, it's better. What do you think? By the way, how you calculate Gini coefficient in a country? Very simply. Gini coefficient ek kohomada maninne? Yeah, Gini coefficient is measured by something like this. Now, normally what you are trying to do is, I mean, this is done by this Department of Census and Statistics, right? Where you stratify the people into like this in income and expenditure survey. So from low income people to the middle income to the highest income, right? So it's called income pyramid. Income pyramid. So Gini coefficient is something where what you are, I mean, very simply, right? It's a very quite complex calculation, but I would like to, you know, try to give you a little bit of glimpse of that. Now you calculate the n number of people in the highest 5%. Highest 5% of the income strata. So that means income strata ke highest 5% ke minisu kidenek innawa. And then you calculate m number of people of the lowest 5% of the income strata. Please make a note if you like. You can write these notes, right? Sometimes it could be tested in the exam, because all these would contribute to the economic development and SME later on, not now but later on, which we will discuss a lot of things in later. But still, this is basic economics. So if this ratio is high, means what? Subhasha? Hmm? Yeah?
High.
If this ratio is high, means what?
The disparity is high. The disparity is high.
Disparity is high. If this ratio is high, so that means there are lots of m, and 1 or 2 n means the ratio is high. So that means income disparity is there, it's prevailing. So a lot of people are in poverty or less income level, and very few 1 or 2 people on the top, which is bad. If this ratio is low, means that okay, comparatively the disparity is less. Are you getting the point? Disparity is low. So please write Gini coefficient is calculate between, I mean, it's not very simple as that, but understand the logic how you calculate, right? Gini coefficient is it's calculate between the ratio between the m and n, which is n means the number of people in the highest 5%, and this is m means the number of people in the lowest 5% of the income strata. ඒකනේ සිංහලෙන් මම මේක කියනවා නම් මේක n කියලා කියන්නේ ආදායම් පිරමීඩේ උඩම ඉන්න 105 සංඛ්‍යාවක්, ආදායම් පිරමීඩේ යටම බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඉන්න 105 බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඉන්න සංඛ්‍යාවත් අතර අනුපාතයෙන් තමයි Gini coefficient එක calculate කරන්නේ. All right, so Gini coefficient, it's if it is high, that means income disparity is high, inequality is high, and if the Gini coefficient is low, income disparity is low. So now in any coefficient, I think you know your mathematics. Any coefficient would change between 2 parts, or rather in this slide. It could be from -1 to +0 to +1. -1 to 0 to +1. But this -1, this is a negative coefficients or negative relationships, which Gini coefficient is not a negative one. We will talk about 0 to 1. +1. So if Gini coefficient is 1, means there is absolutely income disparity. So that means only one person in the highest 5% and all other people are in the lowest 5%, which is not practically happening. And if Gini coefficient is 0, means there is absolutely no income disparity, which is normally it's not achievable, right? So normally either sides, it's practically not achievable in that sense. Right, now I will ask again a common sense question. What is Sri Lanka's Gini coefficient? What is Sri Lanka's Gini coefficient? Can anyone think of that? ලංකාවේ ගිනි කොප්ෂන් එක කීයක් ඇතිද? This is 0.5. At least tell me one or two. Tilini, what do you think? Where B stands for? No idea?
No.
Gana?
I have no any exact idea, but I think it may be around 50-60%.
Lakmal. Kalpani.
It's more than 50%.
Should it be like this side or this side?
Positive.
Yeah, positive tamai. All the positive, but it should be less than between 0 to 0.5 or 0.5 to 1.
0.5 to 1.
0.5 to 1.
Yeah, something like that, right? 0.56 or something like that. Which is good or bad? What is your personal opinion, Mr. Pondambalam? What do you think? It's good or bad? Pondambalam?
It's bad.
Why you say bad? Mr. Raja Kulusurya?
It's quite in the middle, sir. So probably we have to assess it as quite on a comfortable position.
So you think it's quite good?
Yes, quite good. Because the distribution is quite equal.
Okay. Give some countries who are here actually. So countries like Switzerland, Norway, Finland, they're here. Countries like Russia, India, they're here. So we are a little bit in between. So who thinks it is not good? Satyavani, what do you think? Miss Satyavani. What is your opinion? Mr. Lakmal? Taturanga Lakmal? Chamin Atukorala? Chamdiva Atukorala?
I think.
Huh?
So I think it is more sort of in a good way, but income disparity is not properly addressed by the relevant authorities.
Yeah, of course, that is a different question. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, true. I mean, my personal opinion is that having an income disparity of this is too much for the country. At least we should be somewhere here, somewhere for point. I mean, I'm not saying that we should be 0.1% or 0.2% because it's quite difficult. But imagine a small country like us, where when we got universal franchise, by the way.
1948.
1948, we got what?
Independence.
Independence, right? So I asked universal franchise. Lankaවට සර්වජන ඡන්ද බලය හම්බුනේ මොන අවුරුද්දද අසංක?
1932.
38.
So it will validate the point is highly paid bankers are not reading. Right?
We got it from Solberg commissions recommendation. I can't remember the exact year.
සල්බර් recommendation වලින් නෙමෙයිනේ පුතා. අපිට මේ සර්වජන ඡන්ද බලය හම්බුනේ. සල්බර් එකෙන් හම්බුනේ අපිට 48 ව්‍යවස්ථාවනේ.
1959. 1959.
59? No. 59, that's the year that the Bandaranaike got assassinated.
1931.
Ah, very good. 1931, right? So Lanka so that means universal franchise. So our universal franchise is very long period. Number 100. It's 1931. So that means what do you mean by universal franchise is our ability to elect leaders. Our ability to elect leaders, it's a long history, but unfortunately we don't demonstrate that maturity in our electoral selection. That's a different story altogether. But what I'm trying to tell is a country which has such a long period of democracy, such a country, such official democracy, right? So a country which is, as some of you said, that we got around 70 years independence, around 1948. And country throughout that period has a adult literacy rate more than 90%. That is the point, right? And then country got the free education. When we get the free education, when we got I think everybody of us are product of free education, or you and me.
1950s.
1945.
Yeah, somewhere around 1945, right? 1945, even before the independence, right? We got the free education, thanks to Dr. C.W.W. Kanagara. So in such a situation where that Sri Lanka is having an income disparity, for me, it is not that satisfactory. Because of being a small country, got universal franchise for a long period of time, got independence for almost 70 decades, and got advanced literacy rate throughout that being positively and high positively. So performance in income disparity is not that good in that context, right? So that is what point. Okay, so what I'm now going to wrap up today's lecture, right? As I told, we will as a first lecture we will not go for a long today, right? Unfortunately, these other things also happen. But let's talk this much more deeper into next week. So what I want to tell all in all, when it's come to economic development, so today we did not talk much of SME though, right? We talk on the economics, and then we will continue to do so in the next week also. So so what you have to understand laterally is, if you want to understand country's economic development, you have to think on these three parameters. රටක ආර්ථික සංවර්ධනය බලන්න නම් මේ parameter තුනම බලන්න ඕනේ. එකක් තමයි GDP or GNP. Another one is GDP or GNP per capita, and Gini coefficient, Gini index. So if any country basically qualify, if any country qualify from all these parameters, so in that situation, in that country, we call that country is economically grown and economically developed, right? So this is what you have to understand in today's lecture. So then we go into the much more deeper topic of economic management in next class, which is come to more, we will talk about more monetary policy and the fiscal policy matters in next class, right? So until then, any questions of today's lecture? ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවද කාට හරි අහන්න? Right, okay, so then we will stop today's lecture, and then we will meet next class, and hope that everybody will join on time. And then but anyway, we will try to finish the class by 5 o'clock. We will not run until 5:30 because it would be too long, especially when it's come to the online. So we start somewhere from 1:30 to 4:30 at maximum 5. So that is how we are going to do that. And if you have any questions, please ask, and then please try. The next topic is economic management, where we will talk about economic development, economic policies a little further. Okay, so thank you very much, And if you don't have any questions, we can log out.
I have a question, not with regard to this session. What is the annual turnover for business to categorize as SME, sir? What is the annual business turnover for a business to categorize as SME? There is a complication between 750 million or 1 billion.
Yeah, normally, according to the policy framework, the SME is categorized under two categories, right? One thing is number of employment and number of, and another one is annual turnover, right? So when it's come to the number of employment, it's any enterprise which has less than 10, it's considered as a micro enterprise. 11 to 50 is considered as a small enterprise. 51 to I think 300. 51 to 300 is considered as a medium enterprise, right? So that is employment based definition.
Okay.
The annual turnover based definition, as per the policy framework, right? It is any company which has less than 10 million rupees annual turnover is micro. 10 to 15 million, 10 to 15 million, 10 to 50 million, 10 to 50, sorry, 11, 10 and less micro, 11 and 50 small, and 51 to, I think it is 600 million. 600 million, according to, please, I have to look the policy framework at the medium. And then subsequently, when it's come to some credit lines, central bank has increased this threshold to 1 billion. So it is 600 million to 1 billion Sri Lankan rupees. So as of now, not in the policy, but in general practice, if any firm has an annual turnover of less than 1 billion Sri Lankan rupees, we consider them as SME.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, but I would say always, and in the policy they say, if there would be any dispute, always go with the number of employees, because number of employees would be the best parameter to see, because how many people employed and how many people manufacturing or producing goods and services would be a better parameter than turnover, because turnover, the whole point is turnover can be manipulated, right? So even the company might have lot of business and the turnover, but at the end of the day, they might then show us sort of a very less turnover, and then it is in a different category. But other than the number of employees, it's very difficult to manipulate. That's the thing.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All right, so we will discuss all that later on. Yeah, any question, any further question on today's session, or generally? All right, so thank you very much again. So then I will wind it up, and then we will meet next week, and then we'll take it from there, right? Okay, take care then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.